All right, today we're going to talk about drafting and giving shape to imagination. This is discussing the drafting phase of writing. Now, during this phase, you are going to want to sit down and just write. So you have to take all of your perfectionism and any self doubt and just throw it away and just write. Don't stop. Put the pen to the paper or the fingers to the keyboard and just go. Resist the urge to go back and edit as you go because you're just going to find problems and you're going to get discouraged, but you just need to finish the rough draft. You can always come back and fix it later. So the importance of the rough draft is all about discovery and exploration. It is not about perfection. You're introducing your characters with their personalities and their conflicts and their goals. You are building your world and creating your setting, and you're establishing the plot. So you're laying down a sequence of events and actions that drive the narrative forward. Okay? So embrace your creativity when you're doing this and let your imagination run wild. You've got that outline next to you. Just write. Don't worry about the plot holes. Don't worry about character inconsistencies. Sometimes if I introduce a new character and they're just like maybe the shop clerk or somebody that they went to school with or whatever, I just put question mark. I will give them a name later. They're not getting a name right now because I'm not stopping what I'm doing to put a name in there. When I edit, I will go back through and find it. Or if I've named somebody and I've forgotten what their name is and I'm writing, sometimes I'll just, make a note or in it with a question mark and I'll come back and fix it later. But I just keep going. Usually that doesn't happen with main characters, but usually some smaller tertiary characters, I might forget what I named them. So just remember that Stephen King famously said, write with the door closed, rewrite with the door open. So the rough draft is for you. You are writing the story for you. You're not really, I guess you're maybe considering the audience a little bit, but it really is, you are discovering your story. So just sit down and write it. It is supposed to be messy. It is supposed to be awful. There are supposed to be problems with it. So that's the way that it is. But just get through from the beginning to the end. This is the part where a lot of writers seem to fall apart, is because they get started on it and lose momentum. But you cannot lose momentum. You have to continue going. Developing your characters through your writing. They're going to move with you as you write. And I know that a lot of people are going to say, oh my goodness, I don't understand how writers can say, they lost control of their character, or they didn't think their character would do this, or, their character ran away with the scene. Is that sometimes in the heat of the moment, when you are writing that character and you're inside of that character's mind, they take over or they do something that you wouldn't expect them to do. And that's hard to think of as an author. Well, you're in control of that character. How can they do something that you wouldn't think that they, see that they do? Well, depending on different situations and where that character is put based on their background and their life experiences, they might choose something that goes against the grain of what the author might have originally intended, which is where stories take wonderful turns when they actually surprise the author themselves. That means that character has its own life, breathing life force, making their own decisions. It does make the characters more authentic. It makes them more engaging, as long as you're not focused on. I really dislike whenever characters make decisions to further the plot, and that's the only reason why they make decisions. Sometimes they make decisions that don't make sense. People do that all the time. They make decisions and you wonder, what in God's name were they thinking when they did that? That makes no sense. It's because humans are imperfect. And so when your characters make imperfect decisions, that makes them more authentic. So choosing to make decisions just to further the plot that break, the actual character's goals or motives, I can smell those from a mile away. When I watch movies or read books, I'm like, that makes no sense. That character would never do that. Um, and so keep that in mind, and stay true to your characters. Exploring new ideas when you're writing through and you're doing this, experiment with different plot points and different themes. Sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. Not all the ideas will make it into the final version. Put them all in. You can always take them out later. And be open to, like I said, be open to where the story takes you, even if it diverges from your original outline. I've had that happen before. I have written an outline and then I start going and I'm like, that's not where this is going at all. Or maybe there's this like little side jaunt that happens before they end up at the end there. And so there's a whole section of the book that kind of needs to be re-outlined because the characters have chosen to do something different. And I think that that's an important part of drafting. It is a very experimental phase of writing. And like I said, you're going to have to embrace the imperfections, accept the flaws. It doesn't need to be perfect. It is just a rough version of your story. Again, avoid the self-editing process. A lot of people will do NaNoWriMo in November, which is National Novel Writing Month, and you have 30 days to write a novel. So sitting down and having a writing schedule, there's no time to go back and edit. So if you give yourself a time to write and not go back and edit, that increases your momentum and your creativity. You can always go back and fix it later. It's not going to be published as is. You can fix it. Just keep moving forward. Even if you hit a rough patch, and there have been chapters that I've written that I'm like, that chapter was just hot garbage. It was just a dumpster fire. There wasn't anything in there. It didn't really, I'm not sure. Yeah. But I'll just plug through it and say, you know what, maybe I'll come up with something later. And in the editing process, when you read that chapter and you're like, oh yeah, this is that chapter that, it's missing something, like, so read it a couple times and then determine, okay, now I know where the story began and I know where it ended because I've written the entire draft. What happens in this chapter that is so important, and what did I miss here, that I can go back and I can fix? Setting a word count, like a word goal, can be helpful to keep you on task. A lot of people will say a daily word goal. I tend to like to make them weekly, because I have several books that I'm working on. So I might be drafting in this book, I might be outlining that book, or I might be editing this one. So to say, well, I'm going to edit one chapter in this book and write 1,000 words in this book, and I'm going to outline like 3 chapters in this book, and just say I'm going to do those by the end of the week. So if one day I'm not feeling particularly creative and I don't want to write, then okay, I'm editing today. Or, I'm really creative today and I have some crazy ideas, then maybe I want to look at outlining on that day. It just depends. And you can set that schedule, which helps you to build the momentum and keep moving forward. Creating a comfortable writing environment. I kind of write just about anywhere. I do have my office here that I write in frequently. I'll write on the couch. I'll take it with me, like when I'm at the doctor's office in the waiting room. But, if you need a quiet space to organize your thought, to maintain your workflow, then, create that environment for you. Using prompts online, give you a quick jump start if you get stuck. And to stay motivated, remember to celebrate even the smallest victory. Finishing a chapter is a huge thing. Writing a book it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So there's little pieces to get from here to here to here. So reward yourself for meet a certain word count or completing chapters, participating in a NaNoWriMo, whether you finish it in the time frame or not, just to say, hey, I participated. But remember to stay motivated and celebrate set attainable goals that you can actually celebrate, so you feel good about the process, and you feel positive about it, which makes you want to sit down the next day and continue moving forward. And that's part of being an author, is that you have to have the motivations to sit down and do it. Nobody's going to make you do it. You have to hold yourself accountable. So you have to want to do it and want to move forward. So you have to find a way to reward yourself. You have to find a way to motivate yourself to do that. And that's really hard to be a self-starter in that aspect. But if you can develop some, like a schedule, that hold, like get in the rhythm. If you can get in the rhythm of doing it, once you've done it, it becomes easier and easier, just to follow that regiment. So you have to have the conviction and hold your own feet to the fire to do it if you want to finish the book. So that's your own gumption, that nobody else is going to do it for you. You have to want it for yourself. So happy writing. Go get it.